The FBI has been brought in to analyze damage to the windshield of Amtrak train 188 after reports the train's windshield might have been hit with an unknown object. But there are still many other questions to be answered in the investigation into Tuesday's fatal crash. Let's bring in California Democratic Congressman John Garamendi. He is a former lieutenant governor of California, also sits currently on the House Transportation Committee. With a welcome to you, sir. We're glad to have you join us. Talk about the steps the investigation are likely to take with this new development about something perhaps hitting the train.
Well, that's always a possibility, and there's often that kind of vandalism on trains that are traveling up and down these very heavily used corridors. Could it have been part of the reason for the accident? We don't know. There's a long way to go on the investigation, but we do know that there's something that we must do as Americans, and that is to improve our infrastructure, to make the investments in our infrastructure so that we would have, in this case, positive train control that would have prevented that train from going so fast into that turn. But it's not happening, and that's the great unfortunate part about the what's going on in Congress right now.
But, sir, may I ask you that positive train control, that was something that was mandated after the 2008 Chatsworth crash. I believe 25 people died in that one.
Right.
Can you tell us how this mandate came about after the crash and give reasons for why it has not yet been implemented? As you said, the busiest corridor in the country for Amtrak.
Well, that's certainly true. Amtrak was on schedule to complete the positive train control by this, the end of this year. And I think they would have done it. Unfortunately, this is a very, very expensive process, and we've got tens of thousands of miles of train track around the nation, some of it in these very, very heavily used corridors. You mentioned the Chatsworth incident in Southern California and the San Fernando Valley outside of L.A. So we need to pay for these things. These are critical investments that are not, well, right now, the Republican-led Congress is simply not willing to put up the money. In fact, the morning after the tragic crash in Philadelphia, the Republican Congress cut the annual budget by $251 million, and that money was going to be used to upgrade the tracks and to finish the positive train control systems. And so these are things that we have bridges falling down, we have roads that are in disrepair. I just this Monday drove over from Modesto to San Francisco over the Altamont Pass, a very, very heavily used interstate highway. The fast lane, there is a 6-inch crack down the middle of the fast lane for miles in which you're going, you know, is this going to be an accident? Oh, yeah, there's going to be serious accidents. We've got to invest, and we have the money to do it, but we're making some, in my view, bad decisions about where we're spending the taxpayer money.
Well, indeed, we have to say the timing, the irony of Congress cutting funding for Amtrak, as you said, the day after. I mean, that was not lost on anyone who was watching. Let's take a listen to what Speaker Boehner had to say about the funding this week.
Are you really going to ask such a stupid question? Listen, you know, they started this yesterday. It's all about funding. It's all about funding. Well, obviously, it's not about funding. The train was going twice the speed limit. Adequate funds were there. No money's been cut from rail safety. And the House passed a bill earlier this spring to reauthorize Amtrak and authorize a lot of these programs.
Where does the truth lie?
Well, I think he's probably a little embarrassed about what he said, and he should be. There's two different things here. One, the authorization. Yes, indeed, we did pass an authorization bill, and that says the government can undertake these programs. The next step is to appropriate the money, and that's where the real crunch occurred. In fact, the Appropriation Committee, controlled by the Republicans, voted along party lines to actually reduce year-to-year funding, that is 2015 to 2016, budget year funding, by $241 million for safety and upgrade of the capital improvement, the rails along the Northeast Corridor. Now, that's a fact. Now, will that be the final word of it? No, that bill is now going to go to the floor of the House, and when it does, you can rest assured that the Democrats, I among them, are going to do everything we can to meet the president's request of over $2 billion, not $1.1 billion, but $2 billion for Amtrak, not only on the Northeast Corridor, but also in my own district here in California, what we call the Capital Corridor, between Sacramento and San Jose down through the Bay Area, a very, very heavily used stretch of track. And there are other places around the United States that desperately need to have their rail systems upgraded. And then we've got the highways, and we have the water systems and the sanitation systems and the airports. We're becoming a third-rate country because we are not making the critical investments in the foundation for economic growth. And that's the total infrastructure system. We must do this, otherwise we will fall off the power curve and we'll have trains falling off the track.
Representative John Garamendi, pretty sobering what you're just saying right there, but thank you very much, sir, for coming on the broadcast. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex.
So is that your final answer? You're going to hear all this week's different responses from presidential contender Jeb Bush on the Iraq war question.
Could you give me the ketchup, please?
Make dinner happier with the great taste of Heinz.
He says she's an undisciplined overwaterer. She claims he's a cruel underwaterer. With Miracle Grow Moisture Control Potting Mix, plants only get water when they need it. Fight ended or shifted. Miracle Grow. Life starts here.
Why not jazz up dinner tonight? Zatarans taste so right. Red beans and rice, jambalaya too. Yellow rice and a night or do. Try the delicious new flavors from Zatarans.
It's Empire Today's biggest sale. 50% off carpet and flooring, 50% off padding and materials, and 50% off installation.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
Of insurance here, and I'm a fox who thrives on the unexpected. Ha ha! Shall we dine? You wouldn't expect an insurance company to show you their rates and their competitors' rates, but that's precisely what we do. Going up? Nope. Coming down. And if you switch to Progressive today, you could save an average of over $500. Stop it. So call me today at the number below. Or is it above? Dismount! Oh, and he sticks the landing.
If you've always dreamed of a four-season sunroom, now you can make your dream come true. A beautiful Four Seasons room lets the light in so you can enjoy the company of friends and family season after season and can increase the size and value of your home for as little as $129 a month. Call Four Seasons today and get free installation for a limited time. Live, love your life in a Four Seasons sunroom.
It's a day like no other. 10 matches across 10 networks.